Self-help gurus are scamming you by controlling your mind. Hey, this episode of today's Misguided Mentors, I'm going to talk to you guys about how these self-help gurus are able to actually control your mind and kind of influence you to do things and make decisions that you normally wouldn't be making under any other circumstances. And so I've talked about this topic several times, but I wanted to take time to, one, get on here and do a video just because it's been a few days. And then two, talk about something, take a deeper dive into something that I talk about quite a bit. I'm going to kind of utilize the platform to really just go down a rabbit hole because I noticed on some of the videos I say a lot, and there's a lot of different topics that I cover in one video. And I realized I can take that opportunity to actually dive deeper and really peel back the layers on specific topics, which is very important to do actually, because it's just like there's so much going on, especially if you're someone who has never heard about some of the stuff I talk about, or you're just, kind of new to the concept of mentors and coaches out here scamming you and controlling your mind. Your mind is going to start spinning. And especially if you're someone who hasn't realized that's happening to you and it kind of clicks with you and you're starting to see some red flags, you're starting to hear something that I say or something that someone else says click with you and resonate with you, your mind wanders and your head is spinning. You're like, holy shit, this could be something. There's some truth here, I think. So I think it's important for me to kind of step back on some of these topics and just take a deeper dive. So thanks for your patience, guys. It's been a couple of days since I did a live stream. And you might have noticed I've just been posting a lot of older interviews that I've done on other people's podcasts. And I wanted to take that opportunity to do that because they're really good conversations. Like there's a lot of information and a lot of truth bombs we dropped in some of these conversations I've had with other people. And it's just quite fascinating. A friend of mine I was talking to on the chat was saying, hey, I've noticed you're posting some of these older videos. It's really cool to see you interacting with other people who are kind of in alignment with you and really on the same mission that you're on. And so that was some good feedback from her and some positive reinforcement, and I appreciated that. So anyways, there's still a couple more I might end up posting, but that was also a chance, as she was saying, that it kind of gives me an opportunity to take a little bit of a break too. But yeah, I just got really busy, and that happens. And when I get busy, I want to make sure I'm still pumping out some type of content, just because I want to help people consistently. I don't want to, and unfortunately, that's the way the algorithm works. Like if you're not constantly working, the chance for your message and your video to be seen and heard and someone to actually get impacted in a positive way, that reduces when your consistency and frequency reduces. And so it's kind of a game. So anyways, and you guys know I'm pretty new to this, but I want to just, and that being said, I want to start off right out the gate. I've noticed that like a lot of people, like if you're in self-help right now, like if you got a coach, you got a mentor, you're going to networking events, you're going to a lot of public speaking events, you're buying courses, you're going to boot camps and stuff like that. A lot of the shit that I say, you're not going to like. It's just more than likely, you're just not going to resonate with what I'm saying. And you're going to call me a hater. You're going to call me whatever, a troll. I'm using, I'm talking about scammers and calling people scammers as clout. You're going to say all those things. You're just not going to resonate with me at all. And, when I was in a cult and I was brainwashed, you couldn't tell me any different either. Like most people who are in a cult don't know they're in a cult while they're in it. So I have noticed that I've lost a lot of people that were, watching me or something. They weren't sure what my message was. They weren't sure what I was doing, what I speak about. And I've noticed a lot of people have like unsubscribed from me, and I think that's the reason why. They're like, oh my God, this guy's on one. He's living below his, some of the things I used to say to people when they said I was in a cult. I would think that they're average. They gave up on their dreams. They're haters. They're this. I would come up with all kinds of excuses to try to condescend them and belittle them. Some of them I would say that to them and just be downright rude about it. I was such an asshole about it. And then sometimes I would just think that to myself about them and distance myself because they were just negative people in my life and they're going to try to bring me down or whatever. And so that could be happening with a lot of people who discover my page and they're not sure what I talk about. And then they find out like, oh, he's kind of exposing the self-development gurus, the mentors, the coaches and stuff like that. And so, you know, if I could at least just plant some quick seeds in them before they leave, that's a win-win for me even as well. So, but anyways, I did notice that about some people that were following me and don't follow me anymore. What's up, Sweet Goth? How you doing? Just a reminder, anybody on Instagram, my Instagram fam. What's up, American Job Factory? Yeah, so go to my YouTube and let me know how it sounds on there because you're listening to my mic on a phone. So I'm double streaming right now, and hopefully it's not as bad because I actually have like a real decent mic. You know, it's a Yeti, so it does the job. But yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and anybody else who's on here who has not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. That way I can see your comments. Because like I said before, pretty soon I'm going to stop streaming on Instagram, and I'm going to be doing some interviews pretty soon, and I'm not going to be able to actually do that anymore. And I share my screen all the time, which I'm probably going to do right now. So make sure you tap into that. So American Job Factory, I forgot your name, brother. Jump over to the YouTube channel and subscribe, please. It's called Today's Misguided Mentors. The link is in my bio as well. And if you got a YouTube channel, I'll follow it as well, right? What's up, Sweet God? the party's over here with you. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, if you're talking about Scotland, there's definitely parties over there for sure, which I need to get over there and party. In case you guys didn't know this about me, I'm actually primarily my lineage is Scottish and Spanish. So my bloodline hails from Spain and Scotland, if you didn't know that about me. So fun little fact. The other fun little fact I'm going to share with you is me and my daughter, she helped me put up I'm going to swivel over here. You might not be able to hear me for a second, but she helped me put up my lights. She painted these little black boards. I bought them, I painted them, and then I angle cut them. That way I can put some of this recessed lighting down there just to kind of, you know, give my office some vibes a little bit more. I realize that you can't really see it much on my camera because I'm like blocking the main visual of where you can actually see it, but it's still vibes for me. Anyways, let me jump into this. Okay, Danny, there you go. Appreciate that clarification, man. I think we did chat once. I reach out to so many people and respond to a lot of people, so forgive me if I did forget your name. So yeah, let me tap into some of this. We're going to talk about NLP. We're going to talk about manipulation. We're going to talk about mind control, particularly in sales and business and in the self-help space. I'm going to talk about, you know, closing and selling and the persuasion and all that shit. You know, it's been on my mind, and I'll tell you who actually keeps sparking this topic up for me. I mean, a lot of them do, but there's one particular guy that always he's been getting under my skin, and I want to hear everybody else's opinion about this guy. All right, so the guy who keeps getting under my skin and keeps making the light bulb go off about NLP, mind control, persuasion, selling, closing, high tickets, money, all that stuff is Russell Brunson. I can't stand that guy. I've never really called him out. I've never really looked at him closely, but I see his ad all the time. And every time I see his ad, I'm like, red flags are going off big time. And one specific thing, now again, I don't know much about him. I still haven't taken a deep dive, but I have, you know, I've used ClickFunnels. I've, you know, Grant Cardone uses ClickFunnels, and one of my introduction to Russell Brunson was when I did my first webinar. I watched his, you know, free 2-hour webinar, whatever, free webinar thing, which was cool that he did that. Right on. He did a 2-hour YouTube video showing people how to do a webinar. Cool. I guess that was pretty cool. But my real introduction to him was so Grant Cardone actually utilized him. He actually hired a guy named Ricky Leva, who used to either work with Russell Brunson as like his right-hand man, or like helped him build out ClickFunnels, one of the two. And so Grant started utilizing ClickFunnels, and they gave us a price, like a really cheap price, to be able to use ClickFunnels. I actually did not end up using it. However, I tapped into the free service for a little bit and played with it. But anyways, I'm kind of diverting a little bit. My whole point is, when I see Russell Brunson speaking, all he ever fucking talks about is money, sales, high tickets, closing. And now all of a sudden he's talking about NLP, persuasion. I've never once heard the guy talk about helping people or caring about people or putting people above all the shit that I just mentioned. Never once. Never, ever. If there's a video out there about him talking about how he cares about people, or how he genuinely just wants to help and all that, if there's something different than what he promotes all the time, someone please share that with me, because I've never seen it. And I've seen a lot of his videos. So that's what bothers me about him, amongst many other people. But I don't want to make this entire video about Russell Brunson. It's just, I got to tell you, he's the one that just keeps getting in my head and setting off red flags for me, as far as like, this guy, all he fucking cares about is money and selling and teaching people how to how to control their minds. He's literally, I don't know if you've seen some of his ads lately, but he's talking about NLP, and I'll just talk about some of this. I just did some quick Googles about NLP tactics in sales, and it's crazy, man. Like, I don't like that. Like, red flags are starting to go off with me. I can see that shit a mile away. Like, I can literally see there's certain things that people say and don't say that really indicate to me what their agenda is, what their focus is, if they're self-serving, if they're a giver or a taker. And that guy just rubs me a wrong way, man. I think maybe deep down he's got a good heart. Maybe at one point he was a good dude and cared about people, but I think he's fucking lost now. And I think he's literally fell in line with all the other grifters. And that's all he's teaching now. He's teaching people how to control other people's minds. And that's scary. And so that's what sparked the topic. So we'll talk about that a little more. But yeah, yes, Mr. ClickFunnel Builder, Sweet Goth, you were saying his disc awards get viewed as milestones the same way as YouTube play buttons do. If you see the disc in someone's ads run, that's a good point, actually. I never knew. Matter of fact, unfortunately, the disc program was introduced to me by Brandon Dawson, Grant Cardone's partner. I didn't even know what that was until I took the 10x360 program years ago. Lorraine, you were saying you nearly fell for his system, just bought a book. Phew. I'm glad you got away with just the book. And again, I gotta emphasize to people, there are some truths to some of these like guys that I've been calling out, and are scammers and are grifters and all that, and out here deceiving and manipulating. They do have some truths, and they do have some positive messages. That's how they're able to actually hook you. And that's part of the NLP, actually. And so I'll talk about that a little bit. Oh, you were saying he was coached by the same people that Tony coached, so he's going to echo a lot of them. Yeah, it's all relative. And I've noticed that just in the entire YouTube, or excuse me, the entire self-help space, it's all regurgitated. That's why I literally have a list of sayings that I hear in the self-help space, and it's all regurgitated. It's all the same stuff I've heard from several different people at different times. But it's nothing new. It's nothing earth-shattering. It's all the same stuff. So yeah, to your point, it all gets echoed by the same people, because they're just coaching each other. It's coaches, as Danielle Ryan likes to say, it's coaches coaching coaches to coach other coaches on how to coach other coaches. It's just a never-ending cycle. So you're just going to get a bunch of regurgitations. You were saying that he kicked you out of one of his webinars. and you were only having fun. Oh, that's so funny, Sweet Goth. You took a few of his webinars attendees and sent them over to Ray Higdon. Okay, okay. I don't know much about Ray Higdon, but you did bring him up, and I have not looked into him yet. So I'll definitely take a peek at him. You're saying his coaching, is this a scam school in disguise, and the discs are basically diplomas? What's up, Danny? Thanks for making it, man. Good to see you, brother. Hopefully I sound better on here. If not, I could adjust the mic a little bit, right? But yeah, I want to just tap right into this, all right? So Russell Brunson, this, I'm going to have to move this phone here because it's about to die. So bear with me. All right. There we go. All right. So, yeah. So, maybe we can talk about Russell Brunson a little bit. You know what I mean? Because in my opinion, like I said, that dude is setting off some flags for me. It is really annoying every time I hear him, and he talks so fast. It's just like he's so anxious to scam people. If you've ever heard him talk, he's just like, but he trips over his words and stuff. It's like he's just so excited to brainwash people. And one thing I've noticed is, before I start reading some of this, is mentors are teaching how to control other people, like especially in sales. In sales, at least misguided mentors, they're teaching other people how to manipulate. They don't use those words. Let me use the words that they use. They're teaching people how to persuade, convince, influence. And it's quite fascinating, actually. So all that is basically mind control, right? You're teaching somebody how to control another person's mind. And in my mind, I'm like, why would you want to control somebody's mind? Like, if you actually care about people, and like, that's not in alignment with someone who thinks or believes that people should think for themselves, right? If you think that people should think for themselves, if you encourage other people to form their own thoughts, discern properly, and think for themselves, then trying to convince and persuade and influence people is not the same. There's a contradiction with those two things. And I just want to point that out. Like, it's just not in the same spectrum. That's not the same frequency. So to me, that's a red flag already. Like, either you're going to encourage people to think for themselves, or you're going to encourage people how to control other people's minds. And in the narrative that they're creating is that when you learn how to control people's minds, when you create the narrative, when you're able to control a narrative in someone else's mind, you'll be able to capture their mind. You'll be able to get their money and so much more. You'll be able to get them long term. You'll get them. You'll be able to get them to recruit for you in an indirect way. You'll get them to promote for you. There's a lot of power. There's a lot of benefit for the person who is actually trying to control someone else's mind. It's a scary thing. And when I just quickly Googled some of this right before I jumped on here, I read something very fascinating, and I wanted to read it before I got too much into this. And I don't need to share my screen for this one, so I'll just read it. Okay, I'm gonna look into this guy now that I found this. All right, so I asked, is mind control tied to self-help? I was just kind of getting some information and something to provoke some thoughts. And the question that people asked, an FAQ that came up, was, what is the concept of mind control? And the answer was, Philip Zimbardo defined mind control as the process by which individual or collective freedom of choice and action is compromised by agents or agencies that modify or distort perception, motivation, affect, cognition, or behavioral outcomes. He suggested that any human being is susceptible to such manipulation. That last line is something I've been saying quite a bit. If anybody who's been following me or hearing anything that I speak about, you know that I've been saying that being scammed and being brainwashed can happen to the best of people. I've said that so many times because I had that realization when I came out of a cult and being brainwashed. Any human being is susceptible to such manipulation. And that's pretty crazy. That is actually quite scary to think that it can happen to anybody. Like, you can be the smartest person, you could be highly successful, you can be influenced, you can be coerced, you can be manipulated. Someone can possibly change your behavioral outcome to something. And that's quite fascinating. And to me, it doesn't shock me anymore. To people who kind of put that off and don't believe that's something that can happen to them, man, I feel really bad for them, because more than likely that person's actually already being brainwashed by something. To think that nobody can control your mind. I mean, haven't you seen enough documentaries? Haven't you heard of enough documentaries, especially the extreme ones that have like really tragic outcomes where people are, I can't remember the name of these cults, but that guy who got it like 300 people or whatever to commit suicide all at the same time. That takes a high level of manipulation, a high level of influencing and distorting one's thoughts and changing their behavioral outcomes. Like, do you think that those people that committed that suicide, like they ever, how do you think they were thinking? Do you think they actually knew they were being brainwashed? Do you think they knew their mind was being controlled? More than likely not. More than likely not. And that's the power of someone actually controlling your mind, is that they can distort your thoughts so much that you're naive to it. You're disregarding the thought and the chance of that ever being a possibility for you. And I get really worried when people, say, like, even me, like, I know myself very, very well, right? I'm pretty grounded in my intuition, my spirituality, my conscience to do what's right. I can sense evil coming at me. I can sense when someone's trying to get one over on me, when someone's trying to manipulate me and try to really, fuck with my thoughts. And I still don't think I'm above that. I still don't think that like someone couldn't brainwash me. I will say it would be really hard to do that, but I would never say that I'm above that and that can never happen to me. I will never say that can never happen to me, because it has happened to me. So, and this is not a victim mentality. This is not like something like, oh, I was brainwashed and like I'm a victim about it. No, I played a part in it. I put myself in a situation that invited that mind control to happen. However, there's, the people that were doing it, they had a huge part in it and they knew what they were doing. And there's a lot more to it than me than some of these comments that people make that like, oh, well, you deserve to be scammed. You deserve to be this and that because you fell for it. And it's like, you have no compassion, dude. And you think that you're above being brainwashed. And it's a scary thing. So I think we oftentimes forget that the mind is actually like, that's what kind of determines every action on this planet and Earth. Like, in order for anything to happen, it's got to start in somebody's mind. So I think we forget that sometimes, and we forget the power of our own mind, and we forget the power of someone else being able to control your mind, as powerful as it is. So it's quite fascinating to think about that and to take a deep dive into that concept of mind control, which I'm going to be doing more. Like, it really does fascinate me. I'm one of those people that really, I'm not ashamed about saying like, hey, I was brainwashed. Like, because I find strength in identifying and recognizing what actually happened. And I find strength being able to turn that into something positive, and that being actually bringing awareness to it and talking about it. Cause it's scary, man. Like, just looking back on that, it's like, holy shit, how did that happen? Well, I can see how that happened. And so I like talking about that. I like bringing awareness to that because I could actually help people with that. So Lorraine, you were saying his speedy talk reinforces that false sense of urgency. You must act now, BS. 100%. Oh yeah, Russell Brunson, definitely. His fast talking and fumbling over his words is him trying to create the urgency vibe for sure. I'm not sure who David Koresh Walkle is, but let me know, and maybe that's something I need to look into. Nobody in a cult tells you, Sweet Goth, you're saying nobody in a cult tells you they're in a cult. Exactly. It's another way of putting it, sure. Your friend from your school's family, apart from the father, got wiped out in a Waco sledge in 1993. So yeah, another example of a mass mind control that ended tragically. Coercive control is a series of subtle manipulation tactics, subtle because you don't always recognize it. And that's the scary part of it, 100%. What's up, Bright Flame? You want to know more about the NLP and Russell Brunson? I may or may not be not too far from the stuff yourself. Deep breakdowns would be awesome, dude. We're gonna break it down right now. All right, we're gonna go into this. Darlene, you were saying people in Nexium were intelligent folk. Look what happened there. Exactly. Lisette, you were saying you had to grieve a lot when you found out you were in a cult of self-development. Not all bad stuff, but still. But you were sold a dream. Yeah, and being sold the dream is one of those things that they prey on. I can't remember who sent that. Oh, Sweet Goth, you sent me that. There was a YouTube video that I haven't watched, but I watched the first 5 minutes of it. And some of those people that went through that experience were talking about how their dreams were being preyed on, right? Anything that's used that should be used for good ends up being used for bad, and ends up being used for the mind control part of it. So yeah, to answer to elaborate on what you were asking about, Bright Flame, you want to know more about NLP and Russell Brunson. And I'm not sure what you meant by that. Maybe elaborate in the comments. You might be not too far from that stuff yourself. What did you mean by that? Like you've studied that yourself, or you may be involved in something like that yourself? I'm not quite sure. All right, so I want to talk about another thing I Googled here. So how a FAQ that I asked was, how is NLP useful in sales? And the answer is, at its core, NLP sales techniques involved using specific language patterns, mirroring body language, and understanding the underlying motivations and beliefs of customers. By carefully selecting words and phrases that resonate with the customer, sales professionals can create a sense of connection and build trust. That's actually crazy. And so, Bright Flame, to answer your question, that's a good way to kind of segue into that. I'm going to read that again. In regards to sales and how NLP is used in sales, at its core, NLP sales techniques involved using specific language patterns, mirroring body language, and understanding the underlying motivations and beliefs of customers. So that's what I was just talking about. We just brought this up, and someone else just brought this up too, about dreams. That's a underlying motivation. People have dreams. People have, things they want to do. People have achievements they want to accomplish. They have financial goals, personal goals, professional goals. Those are underlying motivations that can be used against you. And if you're not careful, you will not recognize that. But that's some of the key things that happens for NLP to be effective, is that they need to know what your goals are. They need to know what your motivations are in order for them to use that as leverage against you, unfortunately. And this is fascinating too. Talking about the language patterns and the mirroring body language. I've never done that, but I've heard about it being a thing several times, where people actually literally model and mimic. And I guess an extreme example of that is like if someone uses their hands a lot, like me, right, when they talk or something like that, and then the person talking to them does the same thing back to them and literally just mirrors their body language. I guess that's a tactic, and kind of creates this sense of connection between the two people. All right, so the second part of this, again, I'm going to read it one more time. By carefully selecting words and phrases that resonate with the customer, sales professionals can create a sense of connection and build trust. Notice how it says create a sense of connection and build trust. Sales is not like a good sales rep is going to actually create a connection and not worry about trying to sell something. Like a good sales rep is just going to say, this is what we got. I don't know if this is going to help you or not. That's up for you to decide. We got it if you need it. If not, that's okay. That's how a good sales rep should be. And that's ethical, right? There's nothing wrong with sales. There's something wrong with unethical sales. And creating a sense of a connection is a fake relationship. That's a fancy way of saying fake relationship being formed. And a lot of networking events, I've talked about this, a lot of networking events, a lot of sales transactions and sales processes are all about fake connections. It's all about building that rapport, but no one ever talks about like how it's fake. And so that bothers me so much this day and age. Let me catch up with you, Bright Flame. You said you had some men very elite with NLP in these circles, and you think they want to do good, but they need to develop the best moral frameworks and how to use it. You think this individual wants to do good, but you're going to try to do your best to steer the ship right so things don't get too crazy. Crazy power, you talk about using it for good. Today, got to stay true. Sorry if I butchered that. Sweet Goth, you were saying you can use it for good. Bright Flame, it's how a lot of cult deprogramming works. You basically use the same tactics, but in reverse. You have a couple of times to help with somebody. And then Bright Flame, yeah, you're with her 100%. All of this, by the way, totally agree. Yeah, and so just like Sweet Goth was saying, the same way that motivations, discovered motivations by the person trying to control your mind, uses that against you. And I think that's what you were saying, Sweet Goth, is like that is how the deprogramming part of it can be effective. It's like, just get back to what your motivations were and don't add what they're trying to teach you. Because usually when someone's trying to control your mind, they're trying to teach you how to control other people's mind as well. If you haven't noticed this yet, take a close look. I mean, I know a lot of you guys on here, check out a lot of this culty mind control, NLP tactics. So you guys are very well aware of it. But to someone who watches this video later on, if you haven't noticed yet, I want to point this out too when I'm talking about this. The misguided mentor is going to control your mind, and then they're going to teach you how to control other people's mind for various reasons, right? To get money, to get whatever, to build your network, they're going to teach you how to control your mind. What do you think that misguided mentor thinks about you, right? What do you think they currently thought about you? Do you think that they believed they were actually controlling your mind? More than likely, yes. If they have you in a position where now they're teaching you how to control other people's minds, chances are they controlled your mind to get you in that position so they can even teach you that. I know I said a lot there, and I know that's kind of like a mind fuck when you think about it, but it's so true. Like, a lot of these coaches and misguided mentors will teach you the very same tactics to use on other people that they actually used on you to get you in their proximity. It's fucking crazy, right? When you think about that. And some of them are so, God, what is the word? A lot of them have the audacity to even tell you that. Not even directly, but some of them do. I've heard Grant Cardone say that quite a bit, actually. Like, yeah, the same way we were able to get you to come to this webinar is how you should actually be doing this. And it's like, wait a second. I don't know if I like the way you're trying to teach me how to do that. And now I think about it, yeah, that is how you got me into this place. So it's very deceptive and doesn't feel very comfortable. Sweet God, you were saying you tend to start by finding out where they were in life at the same time they fell into their situation and use that to draw them out and into healthier behaviors. Exactly. Find the person you were. And that's a very good way you put that, actually. Like, trying to put the person back into the mentality and the state of mind they were in prior to actually being in a cult is probably the best advice you can give somebody that's deprogramming, deconstructing out of a cult. I've talked about this quite a bit. When I left Grant Cardone's organization, I had to deprogram quite a bit. I started my construction company for a couple years, just wanting to do a good job, wanting to serve the community and be like the best company for the best reasons. And the best reason to me was giving them a good experience and having like a high level of customer service. That means fixing problems when they came up. That means giving them like a ton of communication throughout the whole process. Like I wanted to make sure that like I was setting myself apart from other people, and not in a competitive way, just because I wanted them to have a really good experience with my company and me. And I can't remember why I just brought that up. But anyways, oh yeah, that's why I brought it up, deconstructing. So I went from that to getting involved with Grant Cardone. Next thing you know, I started learning his manipulation, deception, interrogation, his harassment, his bullying, his shaming. And I started doing that in my company. And I started doing that to get sales. And although I still made sales, the difference was it felt terrible. I felt bad about my sales. And that was the difference. I used to feel good about the sales I was making before. And then now the way I was doing it, it just felt shitty. You know what I mean? Forcing and manipulate. It's mind control. I was mind controlling them is what I was doing. And that does not feel good. And deep down, I was bothered by it. But I was convinced that this is what it takes to be successful. This is what it takes to get to the next level. Always another level. There's always another level, right? And so that's how I got brainwashed. So when I left, I had to go back to that. But what's crazy is I went back even further. Like when I started deconstructing, it was almost like I went back to feeling like what I was when I was 10 years old. And I didn't give a shit about like a lot of what I give a shit about now. You know what I mean? Like it was a much more liberating feeling at 10 years old than it is at 40. So I had to deconstruct to get back to that. But the beauty about it was I did do that. And so life is actually a lot more liberating now, having gone through that. And I would say that's a positive thing. Now, am I saying I'm glad I went through a cult? No, I'm not glad I went through a cult. What I am glad about is I was able to actually take a bad situation and turn that into something positive and try to like massively build and grow from that. That's the best way I could put that. I was able to turn that situation into growth within myself. And that was a process though. And it took, I can honestly say it took almost a full year now before I could actually like get back into my zone, into my space, and be comfortable with myself and confident within myself. And, just like, true to my morals and my ethics and who I want to be as a person. So, yeah. What's up, David Cardone? I think you, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you were actually giving me some shit on one of my videos I did, but I could be wrong. You were saying mental reprogramming techniques aren't inherently good or bad. It's all about how you implement them. Yeah, I would agree. And to take that, well, yes. The difference in that, though, I will say is if you are, all right, so how do I put this? If a mentor is trying to teach you mental reprogramming techniques, to me, the ethical way to do it is to tell that person and encourage them to actually think for themselves and form their own thoughts. An unethical way of teaching somebody mental reprogramming techniques is to have them think like me and adopt my thought process and seek me for the success and seek me for the tools and seek me for the guidance. That's where I think I get, I feel the icky vibes, and that's where I feel like there's a lot of control coming in with that. A good mentor, in my opinion, is going to encourage somebody to think for themselves through and through. Like I would never in a sale or anything, even if I'm dating somebody. I mean, I have a girlfriend I'm happy with now, but what I'm saying is if I was in the dating game or if I was in, selling something, which I do sell stuff, any type of like encouraging and trying to say things like you need this or you should do this or this is what it's going to take to get to the next level. That's all unethical shit, man, because that's just assuming that that person, that you have the playbook, you have the blueprint, the answers. It's encouraging somebody to seek outside themselves. And I'm not saying you can't learn from somebody. 100% you can get some guidance and learn from somebody, but a healthy balance is actually thinking for yourself and discerning for yourself and taking that mental reprogramming in your own hands, actually, and taking advice and implementing it within yourself without losing yourself is the best way I could put that. So let me read some more of what I looked up. So that was fascinating what it said about NLP tactics, sales techniques involving specific language patterns and underlying motivations used as leverage against people and creating a sense of connection and building trust. That's so weird how it was put that way, because I think there's just too much fake relationship building in business. It's all fake. A lot of people have underlying motives and agendas, and they're conceiving a relationship on deception because they want something. They want it. There's a transaction on the back end in their mind mentally, whether it's now or later. I had a guy, I'll tell this story again. I had a guy who was following me up for 2 years. He followed up with me for 2 years, trying to sell me something. When I finally got on the phone call with him, he was, trying to pitch me. And I was like, man, and he finally stopped himself and said, man, I've been talking for a while. Maybe I should let you talk. And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I'd be happy to talk. But you know what's funny, man? Like, you did all that talking and I don't know anything about you still. Like, I don't know anything about you. And he was like, well, what do you want to know? And I was like, tell me about yourself, dude. Like, I want to know who you are as a person. Like, what are your values? Like, tell me about yourself. I don't know how to reframe that question any more clearer than that. And I was like, I'll give you an example. I like this, I like that. I've been playing, I'll just tell you some stuff. I'm a father. I got a 12-year-old daughter. I got a girlfriend. I live here. I've been playing guitar for 17 years. I love different genres, death metal, clean, jazz, all kinds of stuff. I'm an artist. I started just saying some stuff about me so he understood it and got a piece of who I was. I was like, you see what I'm saying? He's like, yeah. Then he started talking about his kids and stuff, and I could tell he was uncomfortable talking about it. I was most certainly the first person that has ever pulled that out of him and suggested for him to do that in a sales process. 100%, I could tell he was thrown off by it big time, and he was more specifically uncomfortable about it. So he started telling me about his kids and all that, and then when he was done talking, it was I told him, I was like, God, what was his name? I forgot his name. It's been so long now. But I was like, now I feel like I actually know a little bit more about you. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm not really here to make friends. I'm here to help your business. And when he said that, that was a red flag to me. And I said, you're only here to help my business? I was like, you can't help my business. Like, I wouldn't want you to help my business unless you were a friend of mine. Like, sure, there's just business relationships, but maybe that should be talked about up front with people. And I think that's what I was doing. I was like, I'm not going to, you have a better chance of actually helping somebody if you actually build a real relationship, in my opinion. And I think the whole, what's been taught in business and sales these days is the opposite of that. It's like, no, you're there to help people and not make friends. I think that is the most backwards way of ever building business, of doing sales. And it's just, how are you going to help somebody when you don't truly know them? Or let me put it better this way. Don't you think you have a better chance of truly helping somebody and actually truly caring about them the more you truly form a relationship with them and actually potentially a friendship? I think so. I mean, that's just common sense in my opinion. So anyways, needless to say, that phone call ended up ending very uncomfortably. He didn't make a sale, obviously. And he just had a very unique experience with me, and I gave him kind of a unique approach to how I view how sales should be. But that guy, another reason I brought that up was he was willing to fake a relationship for 2 years. That guy was constantly following up with me. Hey, would love to still connect with you, do this, do that. He made it seem like he actually wanted to build something like a friendship, I guess. And then when I got on the phone, after 2 years of following up with me, he's like, yeah, I'm not really here to make friends. I'm here to help your business. Like, you were following up with me for 2 years just for business? Like, damn, bro, you care about money and you care about like materialistic things more than meaningful connections that much that you're willing to invest 2 years. So my point to that is some of these people are so committed, they'll play the long game. They'll play the long game for years to form a fake relationship. Let me catch up with you guys here. So Bright Flame, you're saying, you mean the whole thing about not actually trying to persuade people, no fake relationships, just help them to see clear. You try too hard to push them over the edge. It's unethical. 100%. It's terrible. Sweet Goth, boundaries need to be taught. They do overstep a lot. Absolutely. And that goes back to being able to say no. Again, today's superpower is being able to tell somebody no. Because the new way of saying no to people now is ghosting them. And I think a lot of people struggle to say no, and just saying no and comfortable about it, not feeling like they have to explain themselves and stuff like that. They don't want to help you. They want to help themselves to your money. Exactly, Lorraine. It's self-serving. Self-serving entrepreneurs is what I call them, 100%. And you could feel that. You could definitely feel that. Even the people that have a hard time recognizing that deep down, that is a feeling we all get. You either choose to ignore it or you identify it. But a lot of us ignore it. And then you combine that with the inability to actually say no. And I'm going to bring this up too, because this happened in the last couple of days. But let me finish your comment, Lizette. You were saying trusting someone you do not know. Why? Because other people clap at them, or because they have a possibly fake sad childhood, right? Something that came up to me in the last couple of days, I had a couple of young men reach out to me, and it sounded like really solid dudes, but they're kind of telling me that they're in a situation where they're like in a high control group. Well, one of them's in a high control group, he thinks. And from what he explained to me, it definitely sounds like that. And just helping him out and helping him kind of navigate that situation. But another guy that jumped on, and let me know if you're on here, brother. I forgot your name off the top of my head, but maybe if you're on the Instagram live, chime in. But he went to an event that Cody Sanchez is doing. And I'll talk about her at another time. If you don't know who Cody Sanchez is, now these days she's always teaching people how to buy businesses. That's her thing these days. I personally think she has finally transferred over to the full grifter side now. I could just feel it in people. You know what I mean? And I think she's taken the bait of money, ego, self-pride, and now she's trying to just figure out how to get people's head. It's crazy. It's like these misguided mentors have levels themselves they achieve, right? Like, oh, okay, I've done this, I've done that. And they get to the level where they're going to learn mind control now. It's like mind control is a whole new level for them. Like professional mind control, I guess you would say, like expert self-help guru mind control tactics. And I think Cody Sanchez is one of those people who's actually tapped into that. I can't say enough or more about that until I actually look into her a little bit more. I can tell you, much like Russell Brunson, I get red flags going off left and right when I hear them talk, and it's very apparent to me they don't talk about helping people. Let's just make that very clear. No talk about helping people. No talk about making actual meaningful connections. What should be focused on, there's an absence of, and all they talk about is money, selling from stage, converting, funnels, closing. It's all the same. It's all the same terms, all the same verbiage that's being used by these people. And it's like, can we talk about just helping people? Can we talk about actually like having value in people themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. What's up, Danny? You were saying, do you have several businesses, don't you? You're always trying to find a leg up. So I have a construction company that I ended up selling. And so I kind of have it still, but not really. And then I got a coaching business, but I don't promote it right now. And the reason I don't promote it right now is because a lot of the videos I made in it, I was brainwashed when I made those videos. And so I'm not going to promote that. There's a couple in there that are still good and in alignment with me, like the confidence course I made, and I think another course, but there's stupid courses in there like handling objections, networking, and some other stuff that are just stuff that I just regurgitated when I was brainwashed. And so I'm not in alignment with it anymore. And so I told Brad Lee that, I'm not selling that. And I was just on a call with Brad Lee like a couple weeks ago, actually explaining that to him, because he was like, we noticed you're not selling that course. I said, yeah, this is why. And so, these days, I actually do podcasts for a living. There's a company that I work for where I promote businesses and create their own branded podcasts. So that's my job these days. And so I do have a couple businesses, but one of them doesn't pay like it used to, right? Like, I mean, one of the years, our best year was like we hit like a few $1 million in revenue, gross revenue. And so that business doesn't do nearly that much right now, especially with me not working in it and not even being in the same state as that company. But I have a lot of business experience. I have 10 years of business experience. And so I know what it takes and I know what it looks like to be an ethical company and to treat people good and not deceive and manipulate and all that shit. So you should reach to Colty Ben. That's funny. Oh God, what was I saying about those two young men? Yeah. So one of the young men went to an event with Cody Sanchez, and it was like a couple $100, and then he started talking about Pace Morby being there. And I don't know much about Pace Morby, but he was telling me they started upselling him a $9,000 program, and he unfortunately spent $1,000 and got taken for $1,000, and he's like, thank God I didn't give him 9,000. And I was like, shit, bro. I was like, we need to get on a call. I didn't know you were being pitched like the same, like right now. I was like, let's jump on a call. I want to help prepare you for this predatory atmosphere, so you're not giving money to these people and for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, he didn't feel good about it. Like, he was telling me, like, I just gave him $1,000 and I didn't feel like it. He's like, unfortunately, it's not refundable. And so the response and what he said already led me to believe that it was not it did not feel like a good purchase, and it didn't make sense for him to do that, because he was telling me I shouldn't have. Thank God I didn't give him more and all that stuff. That's not how sales should be. That's not how it should feel for a buyer. For a buyer, it should be their decision, and they should feel good about buying something. It's no different than you going online to a store, like whether it's Amazon or I don't know, like say you're buying like workout powder, or you're buying clothes or something that you know you like, or you've already bought it before from this website. When you pay for it and you click that button and you put your credit card in there and all that, it feels good because you know what's coming, and it feels good because you wanted it. You made that decision, right? And when you don't go through that process, and instead someone's actually forcing you and convincing you and manipulating and brainwashing and persuading and trying to convince you and shame you and interrogate and harass you into making that decision, it never feels good. It just never does. But yeah. So you don't want to redo the coaching. Yeah. Okay. So Danny, yeah, you were asking if if I don't want to redo the coaching. I do want to redo the coaching. I actually just haven't had the chance to fly down to Vegas to reshoot in his studio, because I'd rather go to his studio. He's got like top-notch recording studio, and the way he does it, it's actually interactive training. So it really is like the best type of training platform out there. The way I was doing it was I was filming my videos, asking a question, and then based on the question, you would click on it and go down a path and a different video that I created for each path. So it was very interactive, kind of like like interactive movies that you watch, where it stops you and you got to pick a choice. That's how my training videos were actually done. So to answer your question, 100% I'm going to do it. I spent $30 to $35,000 on that program. I definitely have to make it work. So David, you were saying, good to hear that I found a better way to implement these gifts. You were just giving you a little heck in the comments about joining a cult. After all, cult leaders don't gain power without cult members. 100%. But yeah, and I don't remember what your remark was. I wish I did, because then I could elaborate with you in real time in what you said. I'm pretty sure I responded to you, though, because I respond to most comments. But yes, cult leaders only gain their power by cult members, but I don't know if you caught this whole, this information that I was just reading about how cult leaders are able to actually brainwash people, and it can happen to the best of people and all that stuff. So, I'm not sure if this is where you're coming from, but a lot of people who, when I first started doing podcasts with other people and stuff like that, a lot of people in the comments, I wouldn't say a lot, but like a handful of people would always make the remark like, oh, well, you were dumb enough to pay for it. Oh, well, you made that decision. Oh, well, they didn't force you to do anything. Oh, well, and it was all about, we call that victim blaming. And I'm not saying I'm not playing victim. I definitely, by definition, was a victim, but that doesn't mean I'm like holding the label of being a victim. Just technically I was the victim of this. But I also hold myself accountable to it. So even though I hold myself accountable to this, I still take a closer look at the situation and ask myself, how did that happen to me? Like, and that's part of the accountability for me, is like, how did this possibly happen to me? How was I put in a situation where I allowed somebody to infiltrate my mind, my thought process, and have them pretty much, twist my mental arm into making decisions I would have never done. And so me going back and figuring out how that happened really enlightened me to the fact that, like, holy shit, this can happen to the best of people. And then when I think about it, man, so many rooms I was in with Grant Cardone and a lot of other people, super smart people, millionaires. I wouldn't even doubt if there's billionaires in the room I was next to. Definitely millionaires, people making like 200 million plus a year, who are all drinking the same Kool-Aid, who are all glorifying Grant Cardone like a god. So yeah, it can happen to the best people. So it's, I already taken my accountability, if that's what you meant by that comment. But and it is what it is. Now I'm here to help people so they don't, thankfully for me, I actually am pretty grounded now, but I can't say that a lot of people are grounded. And I worry about a lot of people who especially are just getting into the self-help space, or just keep putting themselves in a position where they're consistently getting taken advantage of. I fucking hate the thought of that. It really bothers me. Good people, Sweet Goth, you were saying, show us Brainwash Ben. Let us see how you've grown while you poke a bit of fun. I don't want to show you Brainwash Ben. I don't even, that's scary to even think about, to be honest. Brainwash Ben is dead. Let's put it that way. And like I said, I'll never say that I'm above being brainwashed, and nobody could ever do that to me. However, I will say that it would be really hard for somebody to try to brainwash me these days, especially because I went through it, and I really put a lot of deep thought into my beliefs and what I'm convicted in and what I end up being confident about. But I also stay open-minded as well. And so when you stay open-minded, when you have confidence and conviction in something and you remain open-minded to hearing other people's viewpoints and how they came to that conclusion and their thoughts, you do open the door because you're vulnerable. You're opening the vulnerability door. And so you really got to be grounded, and you really got to have some inner strength. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you to shut that door when evil tries to, squeeze itself in forcefully. So that's a weird analogy I just made, but hopefully that makes sense. All right. Let me read this last one here. I'm getting some dry throat now. I need to take a drink. That's actually the only. That's the last note I made. But I'm gonna make more. Let's see what else it says about mind control. This is interesting. FAQ is it possibly to fully control your mind? The reality is we don't have control over our thoughts. Random thoughts pop into our conscious awareness at all the time. Most of the time we dismiss these thoughts without giving them much attention and forget about them quickly. Sometimes these thoughts are unpleasant. They make us feel sad or scared. So even though this explanation claims that we can't control our thoughts, which I believe that actually, you can't control your thoughts. You can control your beliefs and your convictions though, and what you know to be true and what what you know is right and wrong, and the way to navigate, and common sense and all that. So yeah, I understand what they're trying to say here. You don't have control over your thoughts, but you do have control over what you retain and what you discard, rather. Let's see. Here we go. Some tips in how to actively control your mind. All right, I'll give you a couple little tips here that Google's given us. So a couple tricks you can do to control your mind is practice mindfulness meditation and breathing exercises. It's very good advice. Include positive affirmations in your self-talk rather than put downs. Take a pause during your day to slow your mind down. Avoid things that trigger negative thoughts, like scrolling through social media. Just a couple little pointers there. Oh man, this is interesting here. All right. What is it called when someone controls your mind? The term for when someone controls your mind using psychological techniques is brainwashing. Other related terms include indoctrination, pressurizing, and psychological manipulation. So the explanation here is that brainwashing is the controversial idea that someone can alter or control a person's mind against their will. It's often associated with cults, secret societies, dictatorships, and the treatment of prisoners of war. And so I guess to your point, David, the key phrase being against their will is something that people don't believe is actually happening. And so like when, like the people that try to give me hell about my experience, or people who claim they've been scammed and went through a cult, they don't think that the person who claimed that was done to them, the victim, was controlled or pressured into doing that. And after what I've been through, I 100% believe that people can be controlled and pressured into doing things they don't want to do. Now, I think the extreme example and the comments that people make is like, it's like, oh, well, they didn't put a gun to your head. Oh, well, they didn't twist your arm. That's not the only way that someone can convince you into doing something you don't want to do. All right. And when you think about that on a deeper level, right, when someone does put a gun to your head, or when someone does twist your arm, the reason they're able to get you to do something you don't want to do in those scenarios is because they actually got into your mind. When you think about it, the gun is just a physical part. They got in your mind because they started leading you to believe that you are going to die. Therefore, you need to take action. So it's actually crazy to believe that people can actually get in your mind so much to lead you to believe that you may in fact die, or you may have some type of terrible outcome if you don't do this, if you don't make this decision, which is no different than someone actually putting a gun to your head. It's pretty crazy to think that, actually. Yeah, Sweet Goth, you're saying the bite model shows the tactics used and is a good resource. Okay. Yeah, I love that. I might have to check that out. Let me see if there's any more notes here to wrap this up. All right. So the last thing I want to say, and then I'm going to jump off here, is what can you do? Like, okay, if you believe that brainwashing and mind control is a real thing, what can you do to actually spot it, recognize it? If it's happening to you and you think like you're having a realization like, whoa, I think I have been brainwashed, I'm being brainwashed right now, what can you do to get out of it? I'm going to keep this really, really simple. There are some actual, tips, just like some of the ones I just read. I mentioned, like meditation and breathing techniques and a couple things like that. But I want to keep it even more simple than that. Although that is a simple tip. In order to understand what is happening, well, first of all, you have to understand what is happening. Like, first you need to accept that brainwashing is real. It can happen, right? Once you accept that, I'm going to encourage people to tap into their intuition. Like, tap into yourself. You have an energy that protects you and brings awareness and alerts you to things. And it also helps you gravitate towards the things that feel good and gravitate towards the things that make sense and are the best thing for you. A lot of times when you're not tapped in your intuition, which a lot of people aren't, they will feel a red flag. They'll feel like something's off. Something doesn't feel good about this, and they'll ignore that red flag. And 9 times out of 10, when you do that, you're going to get into something that you didn't want to do. You're going to end up losing yourself. You're going to have an unpleasant experience because you ignored your intuition to do what was right. You ignored your intuition to stay away from that thing, to avoid it, or whatever, to say no, your intuition to say no. And I just want to keep this really simple by saying, find your inner strength, your intuition. Like, we all have it. This is nothing new. This is nothing special that only certain people have. We all have it. And I want people to realize that, like, a lot of people ignore red flags. A lot of people have a hard time saying no. A lot of people, when that happens, when a red flag comes up, they start, that's where all this mind control thing comes in, right? Like if you feel something's off, and it is off to you, like, generally speaking, sometimes sayings that people that you look up to will get in your head, and you'll be like, oh, well, it's just me. In order to, grow, I'm going to have to do things that are uncomfortable. And some of these good sayings like that will actually be used against you in a bad way and not in your favor. And this is an example of that. And so don't get caught up in the sayings. Don't get caught up in the words. Get caught up in the energy, get caught up in the intuition, get caught up in the feeling of, is this the right thing to do? Does this feel absolutely right? Or is there's something off about this? Because if something's off about it, it's off. Just acknowledge that. All right. And that's it. That's pretty much the best thing. I could go down a rabbit hole and a laundry list of things that you could do to help you navigate and avoid being brainwashed. But I just wanted to like leave one nugget, one good nugget, and very easy and simple nugget, if you will. And that is really just try to find your inner strength, get grounded, and really pay attention to feeling if something's right or wrong. If it, and in people too, like, feel their energy. Like, do they feel like a giver? Or do they feel like a taker? Do they feel like they actually want to help you, or do they feel like they just want something out of you? They feel like they want to be your friend, or they just want to help your business, like that guy said. And so that's one of the easiest ways you can actually navigate a scenario and like a predatory atmosphere or a sketchy situation where, you're just not sure if it's the right thing to do. Just slow it down, pay attention to your energy, and it will always tell you the right thing to do. You just got to really listen to it and pay attention. It's there though. Yes, a wee nugget, a big nugget. Anyways, I'm going to jump off here. My office is getting really hot. I forgot to turn my air conditioner on, and getting sweaty in here. Anyways, hopefully you guys having a good rest of your Sunday. I'm going to hop off here. Thanks for chiming in. Thanks for adding value to the conversation as well. And I hope that somebody watches this, and between my thoughts and your guys' thoughts in the comments, Hopefully they're going to be able to pick up some, a wee nugget, a wee nugget of positivity to help them navigate a scenario where brainwashing is present. All right. All right. Well, you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will check in with you guys later. All right. Take care.